And you can see here the St. Patrick's Day parade, which was on Saturday this year. And this is the Civil Defence marching. The Civil Defence are a volunteer group. They go way back in Irish history, since the foundation of the state. Well, the foundation of the state was only 1922, so not that far back, I suppose, but they go back to organisations before that as well. And it's where in Ireland we're expected that if there was a war or anything, we, the ordinary people, will come out and defend our country. And the Civil Defence, what they do is they take care of natural disasters and things like that. They're prepared in case of, you know, anything major happening in a world event or a weather event. Now, this was the coldest St. Patrick's Day I can ever remember. The wind was coming in from the east, and when we get east winds we also get snow. There was no snow, but there were enormous waves and the tide was growing. But look at the size of those waves breaking on Greystones. Now, Greystones has a famously sandy beach, and here you can see there were a lot of people getting away after the parade, which lasted only 20 minutes in the very cold weather. But look at the size of the waves there. Now, the path, we always do a nature walk on St. Patrick's Day. Myself and my friend like to take out our cameras and we'll do a proper nature walk, and we could go in different directions, but we decided today the sea was most dramatic and there was a good chance we might see unusual seabirds. But you see, there were people coming from the south, so we knew it was fairly safe along the path, even though the sea was so high. Now, the path is on the sea side of the fence, and here you can see geese, a huge flock of Brent geese rising up in the air. Brent geese overwinter in Ireland. So I thought, wow, we're going to see amazing things today. Although it was extremely difficult to hold the camera steady, I actually opted for taking video because it was so hard to take stills. But look at the size. Now, the green fence is actually to keep people out of the railway. And here you can see Brent geese and oyster catchers on the other side in the golf course. And all of that water, there was no rain, all of that water was caused by spray from the sea. And as we were walking along, the tide was growing higher. Here we are crossing a little stream that runs out of the golf course into the Irish Sea. And it didn't look too bad at this point. But the wind picked up as we were walking along. And the water, you see, is all spray. There's no rain at all. All of it is spray driven on the wind. So we thought it's quite safe at this point. And there were no signs up telling us. There were signs on the beach lying flat where they'd been removed, but we assumed that meant it was safe to proceed. But as we got along, suddenly the seas were raised very high up above the sea level at this stage. On the path goes up into the air, but look what happened. The waves got more and more powerful, and what actually happened at this point was we realised we had to go forward because we couldn't go back because the sea was much higher and the waves were much higher where we'd walked already. So we were thinking of giving up on the walk, but look at this, we had to go through this. That was the way we had come, so we couldn't go back that way. And that blue shed you could see in the distance is actually a huge structure, like a container off a container lorry, so that people could sit in and eat when they're working on that area of the railroad. And we actually at one point had a shelter behind it, just between the fence and the shed, because the waves were so coming in so high and they were watering us. And of course we had cameras to worry about, so we didn't want anything to happen to those. But look, the waves just got bigger and bigger, and the wind got stronger and stronger. And of course there was no work going on that day, being St. Patrick's Day, so it was a fairly clear run. And there was we soon discovered that there was nobody else walking that way, so in a way we'd made a bit of an error. There you go. This is when we were deciding should we turn back or not, but we decided we were so far along it would be safer to go all the way to Kilcool Station, which is further away from the sea. And I found some different things. That's a ray egg case, and that's what's known as a mermaid's purse. And it was still fresh. It had just blown in. I saw it actually blow in off the water. The waves threw it up onto behind the coastal defence rocks. Those are more coastal defence rocks which had been laid out ready to be positioned. And now we're further away from the sea, but look at that. The spray was still so bad we had to just stop and shelter where we could. And incredibly, in that weather, there was a murmuration of starlings, which I attempted to record there, but I completely failed because the wind was just too strong. So it was not a great day for seeing wildlife, although there was loads of wildlife around. It was just impossible to hold the camera steady. It was impossible to take stills, which is why I took so much video. I normally like to go out and try and get good photos of wild birds. But look at that, there's Wicklow Head in the distance. And look at those huge breakers coming in. They're the highest waves I actually have ever seen on the Irish Sea. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen higher on the Atlantic. And then the next day we had snow. This is the 18th, Sunday. So what a cold spring it's been.